6 activity norms or rules during a webinar session. Hello, here are the 6 things that we need to keep in mind during our sessions. First, be on time. Second, stay in your most comfortable area and away from any disturbances. Third, please mute your audio upon joining the group. All participants' audio will be muted to avoid unnecessary noise. Turn off your web camera during the training proper. Fourth, ask concisely by typing your questions in the chat box. Fifth, wait for the moderators to acknowledge you before raising a question. Lastly, stay connected and do not log out. Ensure that your screen shows slides or videos being presented during the training. Six activity norms or rules during a webinar session. Hello, here are the 6 things that we need to keep in mind during our sessions. First, be on time. Second, stay in your most comfortable area and away from any disturbances. Third, please mute your audio upon joining the group. All participants' audio will be muted to avoid unnecessary noise. Turn off your web camera during the training proper. Fourth, ask concisely by typing your questions in the chat box. Fifth, wait for the moderators to acknowledge you before raising a question. Lastly, stay connected and do not log out. Ensure that your screen shows slides or videos being presented during the training. Six activity norms or rules during a webinar session. Hello, here are the 6 things that we need to keep in mind during our sessions. First, be on time. Second, stay in your most comfortable area and away from any disturbances. Third, please mute your audio upon joining the group. All participants' audio will be muted to avoid unnecessary noise. Turn off your web camera during the training proper. Fourth, ask concisely by typing your questions in the chat box. Fifth, wait for the moderators to acknowledge you before raising a question. Lastly, stay connected and do not log out. Ensure that your screen shows slides or videos being presented during the training. Six activity norms or rules during a webinar session. Hello, here are the 6 things that we need to keep in mind during our sessions. First, be on time. Second, stay in your most comfortable area and away from any disturbances. Third, please mute your audio upon joining the group. All participants' audio will be muted to avoid unnecessary noise. Turn off your web camera during the training proper. Fourth, ask concisely by typing your questions in the chat box. Fifth, wait for the moderators to acknowledge you before raising a question. Lastly, stay connected and do not log out. Ensure that your screen shows slides or videos being presented during the training. 6 activity norms or rules during a webinar session. Hello, here are the 6 things that we need to keep in mind during our sessions. First, be on time. Second, stay in your most comfortable area and away from any disturbances. Third, please mute your audio upon joining the group. All participants' audio will be muted to avoid unnecessary noise. Turn off your web camera during the training proper. Fourth, ask concisely by typing your questions in the chat box. Fifth, wait for the moderators to acknowledge you before raising a question. Lastly, stay connected and do not log out. Ensure that your screen shows slides or videos being presented during the training. Six activity norms or rules during a webinar session. Hello, here are the 6 things that we need to keep in mind during our sessions. First, be on time. Second, stay in your most comfortable area and away from any disturbances. Third, please mute your audio upon joining the group. All participants' audio will be muted to avoid unnecessary noise. Turn off your web camera during the training proper. Fourth, ask concisely by typing your questions in the chat box. Fifth, wait for the moderators to acknowledge you before raising a question. Lastly, stay connected and do not log out. Ensure that your screen shows slides or videos being presented during the training.
Okay, hello everyone. Good morning to all. Welcome to today's webinar with a theme Curriculum Innovation for the New Normal Education Amidst the Pandemic, hosted by Laguna State Polytechnic University, College of Teacher Education and Applied Research, Santa Cruz Campus. This is Maricar Apuan, Principal of Maas Elementary School, and I will be your moderator for the whole session. So before we go further, I would like to acknowledge all the participants from different schools and division to Zoom and YouTube. Hello and good morning to all. I know every one of you is very excited for today's webinar since we have truly an interesting topic and not to mention that we have a very high caliber guest speaker for today. But before we move on, I would like to remind everyone that we have a clientele and attendance link posted in our link in our chat box and please answer it together with the evaluation link to be posted later on after our webinar. So that's it for our reminder. So, and now, ladies and gentlemen, to formally begin our webinar, we will have our prayer through audiovisual presentation to be followed by our Philippine National Anthem.
Our ever-loving Father, the core of every reason, the source of truth. You who made the earth and the heavens are the ultimate goal of every knowledge seekers, the infinite wisdom, the cause of all that is good. We are truly grateful for this opportunity to gather together as a community despite the challenges we face each day. Yet you remained and gave us strength to carry on the responsibilities of bearing intelligence and using them for better purposes. We now humbly ask you to join us in our endeavor to explore the wonders of life in the world for knowledge's sake, that in whatever we learn today, we become more grounded to you, who is truth, who is love. We pray that you bless our speakers, the fount of your infinite knowledge, that they can share something worthwhile despite the limited time we have. They can channel all they know and share to us the beauty and truth of living as your child. We pray that you guide our participants, the seekers of your boundless knowledge, that they may continue to persevere in the search and be deemed worthy to share what they learn from today's session. Sanctify us, O Lord, not because we are worthy of it, but because we believe in your love and mercy, that at the end of the day, we can take home something that's amazing and meaningful. This we ask and pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, kaya sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang binirang, kuyak ka ng magiting, sa manluluping, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit ng pagaw, ay hinatang tulad awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng katawan mo'y tagumpay na nagtiinig, ang ituloy
okay at this moment. We are truly lucky. Despite of this bad, not so good weather, we are given this chance to be with the very important person in educational system. No other than to our Yusek Diosdado San Antonio. Good morning po, sir. And also to our LSPU President, Dr. Mario R. Briones. Good morning po. And now, at this moment, to give us the welcome remark, may I call on the person who is well known for her good administration, the Dean of College of Teacher Education, none other than Dr. Florida V. Pamatmat.
Good morning to each and everyone. We're so fortunate this morning for having with us icons in the academe. We have the Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Diosdado Dads San Antonio. Good morning po, sir. We also have with us the University President of Laguna State Polytechnic University, Dr. Mario Briones. Isa po yan sa pinakamahusay na presidente sa buong Calabarzon. The Vice Presidents, kung nandito po sila, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Eden Calio, Dr. Bobby Agatep, and Sir Beltran. Mahuhusay po ang aming mga Vice Presidents. And of course, our Campus Director, Engineer Alvarez. Magandang umaga po, sir. Yan po ay isang magaling, mabait at maaasahan na campus director. To our other university officials, deans, and associate deans of the College of Teacher Education, ang mga masisipag nating GSAR faculties sa Doctor of Education. Andyan po ang ating Dr. Mario Pasion, Professor Dr. Mario Pasion. Andyan din po si Dr. Zenaida Vitasa, Dr. Rose Katapang, ang ating GSAR coordinator. Nakita ko rin po kanina yung ibang mga faculty ng graduate school. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Participants, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this webinar on curriculum innovation for the new normal amidst pandemic. To the organizers headed by Mr. and Mrs. Sarmiento, the EDD students, my heartfelt gratitude for the initiative of organizing and making this event possible. Isang magandang umaga po sa lahat at welcome to our webinar. It is a timely topic as the landscape in education has tremendously changing. It's not only in the Philippines but in the entire world. Hence, there has been remarkable innovations with respect to the curriculum in all academic levels. I would like to encourage everyone to be attentive and pay attention to all the details to be shared to us by Yusek Dads San Antonio, because this is a chance in a lifetime and a part of LSPU SCC graduate school history. I'm so proud of this webinar. Let us all be motivated and inspired that despite the pandemic and no matter what, there's still a lot of opportunities ahead of us. Once again, welcome to our webinar at maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much, Dr. Florida V. Pamatmat, for your wonderful welcome remarks. Truly, it is a once in a lifetime chance or chance in a lifetime. And now to provide us a rationale of today's webinar, here is another good leader with us, the PSDS of Pasig District in the Division of Laguna, Madam Julie C. Sarmiento.
To our guest speaker, Yusek Diosdado San Antonio, to our University President, Dr. Mario Briones, to the Dean of College of Teacher Education of LSPU Santa Cruz Campus, Dr. Florida Pamatmat, to our Professor, Dr. Mario Pasion, and Dr. Zenaida Vitasa, to all the participants in this webinar, a pleasant good morning. The unexpected arrival of the pandemic led to massive effort to adapt and innovate. It is binding upon all educators to use this crisis-driven opportunity to push for significant shifts in almost every aspect of education. And we are all gathered here today because through this webinar, with the help of our highly proficient speaker today, we will be drizzled with groundbreaking ideas on how we can further carry out curriculum innovation for the new normal education amidst the pandemic. We will also be provided assistance in innovating curriculum appropriate in the delivery of instructions in the new normal. Furthermore, we will also be given the current status of education in terms of its performance in curriculum development, implementation, and innovation. I hope that the learnings that we can get from this webinar give us the strength to overcome the challenges in education brought by this pandemic, and therefore help us achieve the desired learning outcomes. Again, thank you and a blessed morning to everyone.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Julie C. Sarmiento, for providing us clear information with regards to this webinar. And now, to give us inspirational message, it is my very great pleasure to welcome the President of Laguna State Polytechnic University, the person who is notable to his distinguished records of his innovative programs in LSPU. Let us welcome President Dr. Mario R. Briones.
Very much po, ma'am. To our guest speaker for today's webinar, the Honorable Dean of the College of Teachers Education, Passion. The members, guest friends of schooling was suspended to prioritize the health and safety of learners and
Okay, I think we are having some technical problems because of not so good weather that we have today. Thank you so much, President Mario R. Briones, on behalf of the whole participants, Technical Working Group, and the College of Teacher Education, and GSAR. Let me say how deeply pleased we are to hear your thoughts and inspirational words today, and we will get back to Sir to our President Mario Arbenas later on. So moving on to our webinar, may I call on Ma'am May Lydia R. Lagaja, the Teacher 3 of Camp Vicente Lin Integrated School, for the introduction of our guest speaker. This
Good morning, everyone. Our guest speaker for today is whom I consider very humble and a servant leader with extraordinary passion and expertise in education. He can be easily reached by anyone. I can attest to that. He holds a research PhD in education from the University of Newcastle, Australia. He finds ways of ensuring that every learner achieves authentic literacy. He pushes for transparency, ethics, and accountability in school governance. In addition, he believes that a strong reward and recognition system is an effective way to encourage officials and teachers to aim for excellence. Furthermore, he strengthens a strong research culture towards meaningful innovations for learning. He nurtures productive partnership with all educational stakeholders. To highlight one of his numerous awards and recognition received, he is one of the 5 Presidential Gawad Career Executive Service Awardee for 2019 for his role in fostering a positive organizational culture in the Department of Education, Calabarzon, by advocating for transparent, ethical, and accountable governance, affecting 120,000 teachers, serving 3.8 million learners, for nurturing an intensive and collaborative research culture in Calabarzon, allowing basic educators to implement evidence-based best practices, and for building competencies of regional officials through its PRINS, standing for proactive, results-oriented, intelligent, network building, credible, and empowering model. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, here's our guest speaker for today's webinar. Very handsome, down to earth, and a friend of all, Undersecretary Diosdado M. San Antonio, PhD Cecil 3, Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction of the Department of Education.
Maraming salamat, May, for preparing such a, very, um, parang sa akin, generous introduction. Maraming salamat. I'm very glad to be able to join you today, and I would like to start by saying thank you to LSPU family, President Mario Briones, our Dean of the College of Education, Dean Flohaida Pamatpat, and my fellow teachers and fellow leaders for learning, particularly those, I think, mostly in Laguna, and those attending classes for your PhD program. I always find ways, and I appreciate opportunities to be able to share thoughts and ideas on how we can really make sure that the curriculum and instruction activities and initiatives of the Department of Education are first known to all of us, and at the same time, it allows us to really also learn from you. Perhaps later during the open forum, I'll be learning also from many of you fellow teachers and fellow leaders for learning. Allow me to share my screen so I can um, start with the task that has been assigned. um, the request is for me to share curriculum innovation for the new normal. We know that indeed there's a new normal after COVID-19, although it appears that COVID is here to stay longer with the different variants coming up. Mukhang medyo mahirap, but some would even say this is a better normal that we are looking forward to, perhaps within school year 2021-2022. And for today, I'll be sharing doing the presentation by focusing on three very important subtopics: the goal of basic education, just a reminder for all of us on what we all should be really aspiring for. And then we'll be exploring the changing global political economical landscape relative to, of course, that affect education, and the 2022 basic education curriculum. Some ideas on how it will go. So yes, for the goal of basic education, we should always remember that in the Department of Education or in all schools in the Philippines and perhaps around the world, we want to see every graduate of basic education being an empowered individual who has learned the foundations for learning throughout life. I mean, fully confident on how to read with comprehension, how to do mathematical computations, and even those equipped with the socio-emotional skills that are required for any human being to survive in this 21st century. Second, they are expected to learn the competence to engage in work and be productive. So just going beyond lifelong learning, we expect that after K-12 program, the youngsters are able to really possess the competence for work and for being productive. Of course, we expect our youngsters or our learners to also possess the ability to coexist in fruitful harmony with local and global communities. You know, after graduating from the K-12 program, approximately about 18 years old or 19 years old, we expect the youngsters to know how to harmoniously live and survive in this world with others. And finally, the capacity to engage in autonomous, creative, and critical thinking, and the capacity and willingness to transform others and oneself. So these are the things that we hope graduates will have. It's the Filipino learners also being equipped with the core values. Sa ulado na natin ito, makajos, makatao, makakalikasan, at makabansa. Sorry po, biro lang yung makajos natin. It's really about makajos, being able to acknowledge that we are all creations of a supreme being, regardless of our faith. I think most of us, except those who believe otherwise, are really appreciative of the fact that there's someone, a supreme being that created all of us. And if we are makajos, it does not have to be like going to church every day or praying our routine prayers. It's all about acknowledging that there's one God who has wonderful plans for all of us. Makatao is as I would always joke, when you are makatao, you treat people as human beings with dignity. Hindi po yung makatae. What I'm saying is, when we say we are makatao, just because we are principals, we don't own our fellow teachers. Just because we are the leaders, we cannot just embarrass them when they do something that's not consistent with what we want them to accomplish. Makakalikasan, of course, favorite ko to, is demonstrating that we are stewards of the so-called Mother Earth. And the reason why there's the so-called climate change is human beings have abused the use of the natural resources that has been given to us by God. So being makakalikasan, for example, to me, the concrete example is, are we able to really dispose our rubbish properly? And then finally, makabansa. Remembering that in everything we do, whether we decide to go abroad or we just stay in the Philippines, it's about our country being able to benefit from whatever talent God has given us. So the K-12 learners, according to our framework of the K-12 curriculum, are expected to be productive and responsible citizens equipped with essential competencies and skills and values for both lifelong learning and employment. They are supposed to be globally competitive, employable, because the four exits is really some going to higher education. In fact, it's not some, many deciding to go to higher education, also pursuing middle level skills development or entrepreneurship and seeking employment. As already shown in the framework, the Filipino learner is supposed to be holistically developed Filipino with 21st century skills. And in the Department of Education, when we talk about 21st century skills, it's about the ability of the human being or of the Filipino to communicate his or her ideas um, in a way that could be understood by others, either verbally, in writing, or even using body language. When we say Filipinos who are equipped with information, media, and technology skills, we want to see Filipinos who are really uh, very good in navigating the so-called the world of the uh, internet, exploring things, knowing when the news is fake, knowing how to validate and verify whether the information we're getting from the various sources that are, bombarding us as we navigate the internet, whether they are true or not. And then finally, learning and innovation skills are also very important. And I think this refers to the foundational skills that are required. And when we talk about innovation skills, it's about the fact that all of us are expected to be finding ways to add value to whatever it is we're doing. And life and career skills include leadership, initiative, persistence, ability to work in teams. I mentioned them. So these are the skills that we have identified um, and we deem important in terms of the focus on developing the Filipino learners. Of course, there is this continuing challenge. I don't have to repeat this. All of us are aware that we've been like bashed. We've been bombarded with attacks from our friends in the mainstream media and even our usual friends among our own fellow teachers, pointing out that some are even claiming there's a learning crisis. But um, of course, learning crisis has been long, like mentioned in World Bank report of 2018, prior to the release of PISA. It does not apply only to the Philippines. And when we talk about a challenge, it's really true that, and I feel proud that I'm part of the team of Secretary Liling, who has decided to even launch Sulong Edukalidad. Later, I'll have more of it, so that we can finally pivot to quality. Because for a long, long time, the Department of Education, while we were attempting to, improve the quality of education, we were also trying to address quantity. And normally, I know most of you in your classes have discussed this concept, the usual conflict, like they don't go together always. Like when you are trying to improve the access, that it does not actually follow that you'll have higher quality. Take note, I don't know if you think of this or if you've discussed this in your classes. Before, people are saying we were good, we were better learners. But you take note that before, not everyone could enroll in high schools prior to 1989. Hindi pa kayo mga pinapanganak niyan. I was already a teacher. Only a few people would go to high schools. And what would you expect? Those that went to high school were the ones who were actually very inclined to learning, who were in better socioeconomic situations. So they would tend to represent not the whole Philippine society. Now that we have made secondary education free and accessible to all, we are providing educational services to everybody. So you cannot compare the kind of learners we are actually serving now compared with the learners prior to 1989. Yeah, just as a point that you have to bear in mind, that we have to really make sure that while we acknowledge that DepEd has somehow been able to improve its performance on access. You have seen how beautiful the buildings have been in recent years, since like 2010, 2013. We've been constructing lots of beautiful buildings that you have seen the transformation physically the schools, of the public schools. But Secretary Liling said we have to push harder for quality because, as evidenced by the trends in international maths and science study, the PISA, and the CPLM, Southeast Asia Primary Learning Metrics, our performance has really been um, not cannot be a source of pride for all of us. And so the Sulong Edukalidad was conceptualized. And the first pillar, it is actually the pillars of Sulong Edukalidad are captured in an acronym KITE. I know most of you, if you are from DepEd, are aware of this. KITE stands for K-12 Curriculum Development for Improved Delivery in Instruction and Assessment. And this is what I'm going to be actually focusing on today. Then we will try to improve the learning environment to develop learners' full potential. There's also a separate pillar called teachers and school leaders upskilling or re-skilling to improve competencies. It's going to be a big, like, there are efforts to really make clearer our opportunities for our fellow teachers for career progression, etc. And we will continue to engage stakeholders so that we'll really be able to harness the support of everybody. It's a whole of society approach to improving the quality of education. And of course, we know that curriculum is important in setting out what will be taught, what students need to learn, the expected quality of that learning as well. Because K-12 curriculum development for improved delivery and instruction and assessment is really about making sure that we will be very clear about what we will be teaching the youngsters of the Philippines, what they should be learning, and the quality of learning that's expected of them. Next slide. So let's talk about the changing global political economical landscape. The change we need to prepare learners for the future is really anchored on and should be relevant to the changing landscape of the world in terms of issues on politics, economics, and even the effort to have a one big, happy, harmonious world. Changing landscape with implications for education. These are realities happening now. There is global integration and international mobility. Our youngsters will really, of course, should be ready to be citizens of the world or of the globe, wherever they go. And mobility is very easy now. Of course, after COVID-19, mas babalik ulit yan. Asia is emerging as a global leader in technology and the digital economy. So while it has been acknowledged that Asia is emerging as a global leader, of course, yung bansa natin, the Philippines, is an issue as well because we cannot afford to continuously lag behind. There is this globalization and technological change happening, the so-called fourth industrial revolution, the complex environmental, social, and economic pressures. It's something that, as I've said, that's not easy. That's not simple. Every issue that the citizen of the 21st century has to address is complex from the environmental, social, and economic perspectives. You know that while I think last night I was reading something about, yes, the country could be claiming a continued, sustained, even if it has slowed down recently, sustained gross national, gross domestic product improvements. But what should matter more is how is this impacting on the lives of the real human beings, the real people? Because while perhaps the whole country may be improving economically, it has to do more with how every Filipino is able to benefit from it. Because of course there are issues about very wide socio-economic divide between the very wealthy, very few wealthy Filipinos and the general population. Of course, technological breakthroughs and development would impact the way we educate children. And absolutely, as we have experienced during 2020-2021, COVID-19 has also significantly impacted on our efforts to provide basic education services. the demands of the future in a VUCA world. Dati VUCA lang yan, vulnerable, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. May di na yan ngayon. Hindi po yan DADS. VUCA is disruptive or diverse world. And of course, the future is always uncertain. No one has been given the gift to prophesize, and we cannot predict it, but we need to be open and ready for it. What knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values will today's students need to thrive and shape their work? So those are issues that we have to take into account when we attempt to innovate in the curriculum. How can instructional systems develop these knowledge, skills, and attitudes and values effectively? So these are the things that always guide us when we explore how better to use the curriculum and instruction aspect of the things we do in DepEd or in as basic educators, so that we can create citizens that will hopefully be equipped with the skills I have mentioned earlier. The need for lifelong learning is, of course, very important. As cited in the Delors paper of 1998, we want to help individuals who are able to continue to learn so that they can adapt to the evolving requirements of the labor market. Some are even saying it's not enough that they are technically competent, because what is more important in some industries or in most industries, even within DepEd, it's not enough that you know how to teach very well or to lead a school very well. What's important would be your soft skills. How do you work and collaborate with others? How are you able to initiate things without being told? These are more important. So if you want to be a lifelong learner, you have to be able to, and the benefit of a lifelong learner is, yes, we are able to adapt to the evolving requirements of the world. We are able to better master the changing time frames and rhythms of individual existence. So I know, as I've said, for the different generations, there have been different challenges. And normally, and I have experienced this myself, when I share about my life when I was growing up, my own sons would say that was during your time, and that does not seem to be applicable to us. So things like this, there's really the changing time frames and rhythms of individual existence. And I know that it's important as human beings for us to be able to learn from our own experiences. I can also emphasize that some, like when I was a principal, I could be more heartless than I'm now. I was really focused on delivering results, etc. But I realized that if, as we grow, and if we are reflecting on our own personal experience at least every day or every night or every week, we end up improving, discovering that we are capable of doing a lot better things than the way we normally would do when we were younger. And by learning and retooling throughout life, that's very important. As mentioned, I'd seen the slides used to introduce me. Even during the quarantine period last year, I did a course in a university somewhere in Europe to better understand leadership. While I've been an education leader since 1989 when I was assigned as TIC, I still feel that I need to understand the challenges, the better ways of doing things of someone who leads. So that's something that has been consuming my time as a human being. Anyway, we also have to understand that when we talk about the realities in our own workplaces, the need to encourage and support lifelong learning is affected by local forces, the current nature and structure of the labor force in the Philippines, and the global forces. I already suggested climate change and other issues relative to environment and sustainability and global political and citizenry issues. We want to create citizens who are really able to imbibe and behave in is consistent with a democratic way of life. This is not a new direction, but the pandemic accentuates its urgency and importance, the why, what, and how of learning. So these are realities that we have to contend with. And the inspiring curriculum design in terms of the journey, we can say that we want, other than those I've mentioned, in other ways we can say we want learners who are able to inquire and innovate, build connections, stay nimble. When we say nimble, we are actually able to immediately adjust if there are challenges, manage themselves, serve beyond self. So these are the learners, the Filipinos we want to see um, populating the Republic of the Philippines. And I hope all of us can claim that we are also equipped with these, skills for inquiry and innovation, building connections, staying nimble, managing oneself, and serving beyond self. The leader, in my own assessment of how leaders are able to be uh, more effective in the things they do, is when they forget that it's all about them. When we always bear in mind that the things we do is about the child, it's about the country being able to improve. If we have no hidden selfish motives in the things we do, we end up being more effective. So we also have to contend with issues about grouping, with whom are they learning, location, where are they learning, when are they learning, time, assessment, how is their learning assessed, objectives and aims, what are the goals? Of course, these are the things I've been trying to clarify since the start of this talk. What are they learning? The content, the activities, how are they learning? The teacher role, how is the teacher facilitating their learning? So again, in the past, when I was a grade 1 child or grade 4 child, I expected the teacher to actually share during the class everything that I had to learn. In this modern world, the teacher facilitates, because there are lots of knowledge and information available at the click of a mouse, and with what are they learning in terms of resources. So we are also, when we try to innovate, we have to make sure that there is a right balance. It's a tricky thing to really address both requirements, like issues about how should we be very flexible in the curriculum, and how should we make sure that there is coherence in the whole system. And later I'll be sharing how these are addressed, or we are able to do this. And then the conceptualization of learning, should we make it very deep, or should we broaden the topics, the concepts that are supposed to be learned? In terms of knowledge, skills, and competencies, do we want the development of knowledge, skills, and competencies interconnected in focus or separated focus? That's an issue. That's a tension. And in terms of assessment and system evaluation, they should be aligned to K-12 curriculum, but they should also be aligned to qualifications and system success measures. So these are tensions that have to be addressed if we want to really find ways of doing innovative curriculum design, implementation, and assessment, and at the same time make sure that they are relevant to the realities of our times. And let's proceed to the last part of, I said we'll be covering 3 big areas in this session with me today. This is again, a snapshot of what to expect in the so-called 2022 basic education curriculum. I told my team, and so far wala pa namang nag-object, that dati sasabihin revise, enhance. Sabi ko, i-define na lang natin by the year such a proposal or such a concept has been launched para mas madaling tandaan. So we want to say the basic education curriculum enhancements to be of 2022, meaning next year. We're working on this now. Focus on, of course, properly on the educational goals for Filipino learners. I'll have a few slides on this. Development of the K-10 general learning area shaping paper. We're working on this now. We have not yet included senior high school because that will be a separate work. And then the revision of the K-12, K-10 curriculum guides as well will be our concerns as we prepare for the updating or the enhancement of the K-12 curriculum, basic education curriculum. So what will be there? Of course, what has been subject? It has been subject to extensive and sustained consultation during its development. So we will not offer something that has not been, seen by experts. We're working with experts on the different disciplines, has been benchmarked against curricula of leading nations around the development process. We have found out in the curriculum review that our cognitive demands for learners are actually higher than what the United States of American learners are expected to demonstrate cognitively. I don't know if that's positive, but again, even the assessments in our review of the tested curriculum, we have seen that the assessment questions are also expecting higher cognitive demands from our learners. We are also expected to set challenging standards for each student. We have to make sure that the um, performance and content standards would be challenging enough for each of the learners in the school. And it, of course, we are mindful. One of the most significant findings of the curriculum review is the fact that the curriculum is congested in terms of the list of competencies. That's why for COVID-19 time, we said we'll implement the most essential learning competencies. Essentially, the 2022 will be an enhancement of the current one that has allowed us to pay more attention to the most important ones. And we would want deep learning to be pursued by the learners, by the teachers, by the parents, and everyone else working in basic education. Enhanced features of the 2022 basic curriculum, education curriculum, as I suggested, will focus on essential learning competencies. When I was RD in Calabarzon, as most of you have noticed, I don't know if you were able to experience this if you're in the schools. We were then like we issued the curriculum matrix. I told, when I was not yet a USEC for curriculum, I thought like a field official. So I said, we cannot disrespect the curriculum guide of the Department of Education. But we can agree to say that in Calabarzon, out of those 15,000, learning competencies, we are endeavoring to pay strong attention to 400 from K to 12. I don't know if you can remember that initiative, but that was one way of saying that even if the list is seemingly overwhelming, our fellow teachers, the families, should be reminded that there are fewer very important, foundational, essential competencies the child or the youngster should develop. And if I may give an example, attention to reading. Of course, that's one of the things that I did when I became a USEC. I said the first memo will be about hamon bawat bata bumabasa. I strongly feel that even if we don't teach anything in the first key stage, K to 3, if we are successful in creating readers who are fluent, and when I say fluent, they're able to comprehend what they read, and so they possess very good reading skills, our problem on quality will be addressed significantly. I mean, that's why, as I've said, so we'll be trying to hopefully offer a very streamlined curriculum that does not actually disregard many other things. But I feel that a child who, again, if I may go back to my example of reading, of course, basic numeracy and socio-emotional skills are also important. So we have to identify the most important ones. If they are equipped with like the values of honesty, of persistence, of believing that if they do something, better outcomes will come out of what they're doing, we'll have Filipinos who will really push harder for a more prosperous country. So again, it's about focusing on the essential learning competencies. Second, as already mentioned, I think they are actually aligned. We have to strengthen the foundational skills, focusing on numeracy, literacy, and moral literacy. As I've said, we want Filipinos who are not only properly shaped mentally or intellectually, but Filipinos with very good hearts. I've seen a lot of, not really a lot, but many who appear to be very brilliant intellectually with very big heads, but who behave like they don't own a heart inside their body. Sorry. Ang mga description ko niyan, mga principal na akala mo nagdidihi pero matagal nang nag-menopause. To me, they are the ones who are not very matured morally. The other thing that I wanted to say about focusing on the essentials, because the world has many things to offer, a child who maintains his curiosity and who knows how to read, for example, will explore the world on his or her own. Anything that he is interested to read about is available now on the internet. And we can have learners who will really be able to understand things even without the teachers, providing the stimuli. Because if we make them like excited to discover the world on their own, as long as we equip them with the skills, then we will be fine. Of course, we will intensify values formation, again related to moral literacy. The problem, I mean, while it's true that values formation has been an initiative since a long time ago with the GMRC, etc., and now with another GMRC law. And around the world, yes, they call for very good strategies in forming the values of human beings. Yes, we want to see more Filipinos who will not be considering their own selves first, but it has to be what is going to be the impact of the things we do on the welfare of others. And again, if, as I have learned in my own personal life, if our values are clear, maka-Diyos, maka-tao, maka-bansa, maka-kalikasan, we will not go wrong. It will be easy for us to say no to all temptations, especially yung mga corruption, etc. And then, the value, if you value human beings as fellow creations of the Lord, you will not do anything that will make you treat others as if second-class citizens. And we are also, in terms of the TVL strategy, we will rationalize the TVL strand. We just want to identify a few high caliber textbook offerers na hindi inuulit-ulit yung ino-offer sa katabing school, but fully equipped and well resourced as well, and including teachers, etc. And then, while ang dami ko nang sinabi, but just to still highlight the focus on essential competencies, we will have to focus on mastery of foundational skills. The learning standards will be on the essential learning competencies, and we will develop and master such skill requirements. Sufficient will provide adequate time for acquisition and practice, so that there is a need to streamline learning standards. Among the findings, again, you can relate to this as my fellow teachers and fellow leaders for learning. The teachers reported in our study of the implemented curriculum, the teachers reported that they did not have time to cover every competency that we have listed in the curriculum guide. So we're trying to address that as well. So our focus will be on the big ideas sa mga nagde-design ng curriculum, big ideas, or the most important concepts for a particular discipline. The big ideas may be the theories or the principles that have to be fully understood and mastered by the learners. Of course, in terms of foundational skills, nasabi ko na to, bawat bata bumabasa initiative, the Every Child a Reader program, and I hope you will not disregard this, because whatever it is that we do, this will be very important. They are the threshold of foundational learning that remains the focus of the teaching and learning process in the first key stage of basic education curriculum. May mga nagtatanong, mayroon ba tayong mass promotion? Ako, sasabihin ko sa inyo, pwedeng hindi ipasa. Lalo na pag hindi marunong magbasa. Because how will you expect the child to learn the concepts in grade 4 if the child does not even know how to read? So, naniniwala po ako na while we should provide all the support to make children learn how to read, and perhaps going to the extent of even engaging families. Kasi kahit yung preparation pa lang before going to kindergarten, the child has to be given the experience so that he or she would be ready to learn how to read. For example, ang paborito kong example, nung ako'y batang tatay pa, I mean, when the kids were still not attending school, mga 2 years old, 3 years old, ang pasalubong ko when I would travel to Manila, kasi sa probinsya ako, are jigsaw puzzles. And I discovered, like yung eldest son ko, it just took him 2 weeks bago niya natutunang magbasa na makilala yung ABC. Of course, because, of course, when you do jigsaw puzzles, you know how to connect the shapes, and that's actually preparation for learning how to read. Anyway, so, of course, the values information will be, yes, we want learners who possess a balance of competence and character. It's not enough that you know. Your character has to be good. And then there will be explicit integration in the relevant topics and contents in its learning area across And our plan, again for innovation, this is a work in progress. This is not yet the final version, but we have identified 8 things our learners should be able to accomplish after the K-12. In addition to those that I mentioned, ito yung latest version. Peaceful coexistence, meaning future orientation, sustainability mindset, intercultural competence, and global readiness, national sense of nationhood, integrity, productive citizenship, and flourishing, economic prosperity, possessing critical thinking, creativity, research and innovation, and entrepreneurship skills. And then in terms of unity and diversity, being able to communicate well, collaborate, and integrate with others. In terms of quality of life, physical and mental well-being, and flourishing. I have to make emphasis on that an integrated work-life balance. I know many teachers are even complaining that bakasyon na pero ang dami pang pinapagawa. Sabi ko, gawin nyo lang yung kaya. Do not wag manginig na hindi natapos lahat, because we should really make sure that even as we perform our work as professionals, we should take care of ourselves. Dapat may time mag-exercise, mag-unwind, mag-relax. Digital fluency and data competence for our future readiness, and self-directedness, learning agility, resilience, and financial literacy, life skills and responsiveness, and leadership and ethical competence for socio-political stability. So we want children who are serving beyond self, managing oneself, building connections, inquiring and innovating, and staying nimble. Nasambit ko na yung kanina. But these are our focus in terms of values. And then the rationalization is really making sure that the schools will just be offering those that they can offer with high quality among the learners. So what do we expect next? We'll of course incorporate what we've learned from the international large-scale assessments in the shape of the new curriculum, incorporate insights from the implementation of the most essential learning competencies. We'll also, of course, the full report is now ready for submission to the secretary. Report of the review of the curriculum. Of course, I think it was mentioned in the introduction that my first assignment with Secretary Liling is to manage the review of the curriculum. And then we'll have adjustments by 2022, and we will assess learning loss during the pandemic. Titingnan natin, ano ba talaga yung mga dapat matutunan na hindi natutunan. So again, in the Department of Education, our office is called Office of the Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction. Sa shortcut, OUCI. CI kami. And sabi ko, may CI pang isa na dapat huwag kakalimutan. Children are most important. Thank you very much. Mabuhay po kayo, and God bless. I'm now ready for the questions.
Thank you, sir. We are truly mesmerized with your lecture po, as always. And we are very lucky and enormously proud to have you with us, sir po. And so, moving on to the next part of our webinar, may I call on the Principal 1 of Mahalayhayin Elementary School, Sir Arvin M. Sarmiento, and the Master Teacher 1 of Punta Integrated School, Sir Rico A. Herrero, to facilitate our open forum.
While waiting for the question, sorry, I cannot say thank you to all the greetings. So good morning na lang sa lahat na nag-chat dyan. So Arvin and Rico, I'm ready for the questions. And thank you very much once again. Pasalamatan niyo si May sa pagiging napakakulit na wag ko itong kakalimutan today.
Yes, of course. Maraming salamat po, Ma'am May, sa inyo pong pangungulit kay Undersecretary San Antonio. And hello, good morning, Sir Arvin. And you know what, Sir Arvin, it is really once in a lifetime opportunity to converse with an Undersecretary. So that is why let us take this chance to ask questions related to our topic for today. So curriculum innovation in the new normal education amidst the pandemic. So for our participants, if you have questions in your mind, please do not hesitate to ask such to our high caliber speaker for today. So tutulungan po tayo ng ating mga technical working group para po sa ating questions. But Undersecretary, if I may ask question.
Yes, please.
So this webinar is really timely. So I have to agree to our pillars. And curriculum innovation has always been a resort of most of educators in order to fulfill their goals in terms of instruction. But since teachers nowadays are also bombarded with the challenges brought by these trying times, teachers moves are in accordance to the school basic education learning continuity plan, and we do have that. And yet, as much as we want to make some more curriculum innovations, we are limited to do so, since we in our case, and for those who are also offering printed modular distance learning modality, due to the incapability of the learners to provide gadgets, basically they do not have any means of references aside from the module itself, and we do not have any actual interaction with the learners to facilitate their learnings. So as an advocate of education, do you have any suggestions, Yusek, on how we could still improve learners performance more, even if we are in this type of modality, or just inspiring thoughts for our dear teachers under this modality, printed modular distance learning modality po?
Thank you very much, Rico, for that very relevant question. I know it has been so challenging, especially for us, you fellow teachers. I've been going around interviewing you, some of our fellow teachers, and I have actually been inspired by what I learned from them. Many of those who are really very committed and highly professional had to visit those learners they identified as needing extra support, so that while it's not allowed that you bring them to school, the teachers are not prohibited. I mean, I'm not saying that you do this, but this was done by those who really felt the need for the learners to be given extra support. They went out of their way, they visited. So that's one of the best practices I have uncovered. The other thing done, and let me emphasize this, I don't know if it's going to be difficult for you, but DepEd Navotas has responded to my suggestion that we have to integrate assessment. Part of the initiative for academic ease, we understand that there would be like 8 things that the children should have for their performance tasks. In DepEd Navotas, they came up with an cross-curricular integrative assessment where the teachers had to actually collaborate in coming up with an assessment task that will allow the learners to demonstrate certain competence for that particular period in the curriculum, like weeks 1 and 2 of 1 quarter, for them to be able to demonstrate that the different critical competencies identified are addressed in just one performance task. So this is something that, although I've not mentioned there, but I know I will highlight during the open forum. It's also something interesting. It made the lives of the students less stressful because they were just guided to work on one capstone paper or any other performance task that allow them to demonstrate the competencies in the different learning areas. It may sound more difficult initially, but as I've said, we have models that can, and they're willing to actually share how they did it across grade levels. And and in fact, I invited them, some of you, if you want to learn more about this integrative assessment, can check one of the episodes of, hindi ko nabanggit kanina, hindi ko nabigyan ng slide, but let me share the screen of DepEd Teaches kung hindi nyo pa ginagawa. Alam ko some of you are updated about this. DepEd Teaches is the other intervention that we have done so that many best practices could be learned from others. So we gave opportunity for, this is episode 17. We had, we have a weekly, it's a Thursday afternoon episode that allows those we identified as doing best practice as guide. Ang isa dyan sa screen nyo, episode 29 na nga eh. So you can, if you're interested to understand more, this is available on YouTube. But again, as I've said, this initiative allows us to make sure that the best practices we are gathering from the field would be shared, and I hope many will learn from them and perhaps come up with something better, because that's the essence. Of course, yes. So using the low tech, talagang dapat may low tech, may high tech interventions. Some teachers, I don't know if it's from Laguna told me that if you send an audio message using FB Messenger, you are not charged for data charges. And if you let that, so in a way, you're doing a radio-based instruction using the FB Messenger applications. You can send instruction, ask questions, and allow the students to also record their own responses via audio and send it back to you. Of course, that I understand that the time to actually listen to the audio records of the responses of the students will be different. Of course, ideally, ang closest is, and we're also starting to distribute the cellular load allowances for our fellow teachers to communicate with learners and at the same time to attend webinars. We're distributing two types of SIM cards that will be useful for communication purposes with families and at the same time for attendance to webinars. And I salute all of you. I see more than like 300 people who have actually assured me again that hindi totoo yung mga ingay ng mga a few friends natin na pagod na kami sa webinars. I really, and yung sabi nyo, it's a privilege conversing with a USEC during a weekend. It's also a privilege for me to converse with the future USECs. You can never tell. Some of you will end up taking over my seat after. You don't even plan. I mean, my plan was only initially up to becoming a master teacher. When I became a principal, I said, oh. And then my ASDS believed that I could be a superintendent as well. So I took the test. So I just went with the flow. I actually did not have any, I mean, not in my wildest dreams, I would sit in the office I'm using now. And Secretary Liling would even tell people when we have meetings with ambassadors of different countries, he would, it took me 2 years for me to be able to find a way of putting dads in that office. So talagang inaral niya because she knew right at the start nung dumating siya, I'm not interested. So, I mean, sharing na rin beyond curriculum innovation, the proper attitude of someone who will end up feeling very fulfilled is actually not thinking about what you'll have in the future, but doing things the best you can while you are in that level now. And then DepEd, I assure you, and of course DepEd Laguna particularly, is trying hard to make real that the merit system is working. Of course, that's one of the pushes that I actually at the level of the assistant superintendents and superintendents. But again, so I encourage you to learn from others. It does not always have to come from me. It has to be our collective effort to learn from one another. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much po, Undersecretary San Antonio. And personally, I would just like to thank you off the record po, medyo labas po tayo sa ating webinar. I would just like to personally thank you for allowing me to be one of the delegates of the Philippines in the recently concluded regular course of the SIMYO KITEP in Mathematics, Joyful Learning in Mathematics for Junior High School Teachers. And that was really a wonderful experience for me. And I would because of that, I want to be an advocate also of not just an education, but of course the mathematics education person. Thank you so much.
Good. Welcome. May tanong dito, what is next when face-to-face classes resume? Kay Bernard. Ang sagot ko dyan, we have shown that blended learning, yung totoong blended learning, di ba? The real blended learning has a face-to-face component. We will recognize that as a valid option for learners who may wish to not go to school every day, as long as they are able to demonstrate that they have this like self-drive, the capacity to learn on his own or her own. And basta lang I think it's more important that the outputs are the ones that are used as basis for determining whether a person is doing well or not. So it will be a valid option pagdating ng panahon.
All right.
Ito pa. mean percentage score ng summative test ng revision, ito po kaya ay makatutulong? Ano naman siyempre, pag alam mo yung mean percentage ay ano, pero ako kasi noon, yung lesson plans ko mismo everyday, nilalagay ko yung mean performance ng mga bata sa mga quizzes ko para nag-guide ako. So, I don't have to be told by my superiors. I should know part yung mga formative and summative assessments. Alam ko itong klase na ito lang yung ano niya nila MPSS. Kasi if we are not aware about the existing performance of our learners, we won't know how to address the gaps. So, nothing wrong. Baka lang ang issue ay masyadong laborious. Use the technology. Pag nilagay mo yan sa Excel file, you don't even have to compute that. Sabihin mo sa Excel, give me the MPS at the ano. So, it's to me, yung mga reklamo, naririnig ko, not even in the chat box. Kanina may nagtitext sa akin din kasi I continue to still get, connected with our fellow teachers. Sabi, ang dami pa namin ginagawa, RPMS at lahat. Sabi ko, well, kung ginawa mo naman yan simula nung October, all you do is organize them. You don't have to write again things relative to your RPMS or OPCIF or IPCRF. I-consolidate mo lang yan. Pero kung gusto mo, may the use of technology, I think I highlighted it. Sumpong nyo sa akin kung hindi pinapaniwalaan, the electronic version is valid. So hindi pwede yung nag-electronic ka na, ipiprint mo pa. Kaululan yan.
All right po. Thank you so much, Undersecretary. Another question from one of the pillars of LSPU Santa Cruz Campus po, one of the professors, Professor Zen Vitasa. Her question is, how does DepEd measure quality in the delivery of instruction? And can we assure that there is quality delivery of instruction in this time of pandemic?
Of course, during the pandemic, that what we did was we actually dispense with the performance, the periodical exams. So we just relied on the performance tasks and the written outputs. And of course, it was not the ideal, but that's the best we could have. And so the first thing we'll do when face-to-face classes are allowed is to really come up with something that will allow us to assess the extent of learning gained by the students. We're also designing an achievement test, the national achievement test, the digital version, so we can do remote proctoring once we are able to finalize the system. So talagang mahirap po, and sabi nga, best effort na lang tayo.
Thank you po, Sir Arvin.
Yes, Tuiko. Good morning po, USAIDs.
Yes, Arvin.
We have here a question from Ma'am Rosemary Alon-Alon. Sir, good morning po ulit. May we know some of your plans how to intensify values formation? Because I do believe that values will play a critical role in all the issues, concerns in education.
Actually, among the things on our plate, lalo na sa Bureau of Curriculum Development, is the finalization of the adjusted curriculum documents for GMRC and values education, making sure that the provisions of the recently enacted law will be incorporated. So that's one of the things we hope to be able to do. Of course, we know ako kasi even if I'm not a values education teacher, pag wala na kaming mabigyan noon, I would volunteer to handle a values education class when I was a principal. So I have an idea how that is taught. And of course, you don't teach values education by just doing lectures. It's better if the children or the learners are given the experience, yung experiential way of teaching. And so yung mga ganon, we'll highlight that in the documents. We will not really be very reliant on, we'll make sure that the appropriate strategies, pedagogy, and assessment mechanisms are identified for the different disciplines. Of course, for those of you who know me, I hate prescriptions, even if I'm also a doctor. But I would always say, we offer suggestions, but anyone with a better idea, a teacher who has a better idea, gathered from a recent international training, is free to modify as long as that teacher is able to demonstrate that it's a better way to do it. Hindi pwede yung lahat, ito, baguhin nyo na yan. 299 na lang kayo ngayon, wag niyong palaging iniisip, ano sasabihin ni Yusek? Anong gagawin dito? Of course, while ang feeling ko kung minsan parang Google ako ng DepEd, pati yung number of days, kung ano-ano pa, tatanungin, anong gagawin dito, Yusek? Sabi ko, well, we are all professionals. We're expected to do what's expected of us. I mean, you should be able to address the concerns at your level. What is important is you don't violate the general rules. Ano yung general rules? Treat learners with care and be clear about what you are expected to accomplish. And what is that? Make them learn better. Understand? I mean, if it's your discipline you're a high school teacher teaching something, then make sure that the child after 1 year is really able to learn what's expected. So yung mga ganun, wag na. Kahit yung mga issuances natin, ayaw ko na yung step number 1, step number 2. Parang akong, that's not the way to treat, regulate, or provide guidance to people who are professionals. Because to me, that does not foster innovation. Ang importante lang, ano yung, we say, this is what we want to accomplish. Bahala na kayo. Yung kaya nilabas namin, hamon, bawat bata bumabasa. So you may have your own strategies of making learners learn how to read. Do it, and then if it's something different, we will allow you to share it with others. We also have, other than the DepEd teachers, we're publishing a journal. And I mean, this is another initiative. Ang tawag namin KITE, K-12 Issues and Trends Explored Journal. It's going to be reviewed by peers. So if you have beautiful interventions, we hope to get your contributions. And the other thing na mga initiatives din na niluluto or ito na launch na, yung Circle of Innovators for Learning. We want to have more people joining us in the Circle of Innovators for Learning because we feel that the more there are advocating for innovation, the better it is for them.
Thank you po, Yusek. We have here another questions from our beloved Dean, Dr. Florhaida Pamatmat. What teachers can do more to help students become global citizens if they don't have the internet access?
I understand that internet access is something that DepEd should not actually answer for because there's another government. Sorry, I'm not actually washing hands, but I'm saying we should be reasonable. These are issues that are really outside of what DepEd is expected to do. But let me share that we're coming up with an intervention. This was mentioned in the SONA of President Duterte last year, and we're rolling it out. Ang tawag natin Philippine Information Network 10. This is like coming up with local area networks in certain places so that there is connectivity of gadgets in the area without having to be having access to the internet. So that's a response that the Department of Education has made. The other thing is, ang dami pong ang daming pagmapamaraan. I'll share kasi pagkakataon nitong makinig. You know, yung radio-based instruction, ang hirap magpa-approve ng permit. May mga paaralan na akong napuntahan, they came up with their own radio stations. Tapos sinahabol sila ngayon ng National Telecommunications Commission, you're operating without a permit, etc. You know what one area did? They record the radio-based, they record the audio in a flash drive, and then they buy speakers. Hindi ko pa nga ito maunawaan nung kinikwento lang sa akin, but pinasak sa salpak nila dun sa speaker, and the speaker is able to play what is on the USB, and that is already radio-based instruction without any transmitter because the message, the lesson is in the flash drive. So yung mga ganitong paraan did not hinder our fellow teachers from finding ways of actually delivering. Kung iaasa lang yan sa akin, mga hindi ko nga yan alam. So I'm just sharing now that some people would really be very innovative in delivering the curriculum. When we say, kasi di ba pag radio-based instruction, akala mo yung traditional, nakikinig ka sa radio station, dinidiscuss yung lesson. This one is different. May isa pa balik, mas nakakatawa. It's a sound system. The teacher actually discusses the lesson, comes to a place, sa isang padjak or sa isang, na parang sound system. Doon niya dinidiscuss yung lesson. So yung mga bata nasa bahay, nandun siya sa kalsada. I mean, ang daming possibilities. Only the imagination is the limit. So talaga naniniwala ako, if there's a will, there will always be a way. And as we have seen, we have not, of course, delivered a perfect curriculum delivery during the COVID-19 pandemic. But many, as I've said, many innovators. So tama-tama yung sinasabi niyo, curriculum innovation. Curriculum, not necessarily the curriculum itself, but the delivery mechanism, pedagogy, and assessment could be done in very creative ways, as I have shared and as I've gathered. Mayroon namang isa sa Tayabas, ginawang mga maliliit na classroom yung bahay. Ang liliit na bahay. I went to a house, yung typical house. May study nook. Alam niyo yung ginagawa ng mag-ina, after they are done studying, the playmates in the neighborhood would also be tutored by the child, grade 5 child. So yun mga ganito beautiful things happening. Of course, nakikita niyo yung Kalabaw graduation. Sa graduation naman, umikot, nilagyan ng ginawang parang float yung kareta ng na inaano ng Kalabaw. But as I've said, the Filipino is so resilient and very creative, and that makes me a very proud fellow teacher in the whole DepEd Philippines.
Thank you, Yusek. Next question, Sir Rico.
All right, so we have here another question from Ma'am Aloha Aguirre. Good morning po, sir. My question here is, since the outbreak of the pandemic, people have been expecting teachers to be considerate of the situation of the learners, particularly poor connectivity and slow internet, to the extent that some have been too lenient in measuring and assessing the learner's performance. How can we sustain then quality education that also is expected of us?
Yeah, first, pag hindi talaga convincingly capable, huwag niyong ipasa. Yun lang. Hindi pwede yung pasa lahat dahil consideration is deadlines. Mag-negotiate naman kayo. Halimbawa, hindi natapos, so tanungin mo hanggang kailan ka makakasubmit. To me, that's fine. But kung hindi na nagsasubmit, gusto mo pa rin mag-consider, hindi na pwede yun. Katangahan na yun ng teacher na wala namang napakitang effort, because there should be an effort exerted by the learner at least for the learner to be given a passing grade. So I'm trying to clarify this kasi ang dami kong text naririnig, nagagalit si principal pag may lagpak. Hindi pwedeng ganun. May karapatan tayong maglagpak sa mga bata na ayaw mag-cooperate. All we have to do is provide the proof that we have reached out. We've been so considerate. Pero if in the end, alam ko naman yan, ang tagal ko rin kayang nag-teach. So may mga bata talagang iti-test yung patience mo. Sa akin, yung mga ganun, sige, balikan na lang sa akin next year, magkita ulit tayo.
All right, thank you so much, Undersecretary. Ito po, another question from Sir Bernardino Tan. How do you see the role of private schools in terms of the complementary role in educating Filipino learners, and what supports or assurance can be extended to them when at this time is facing a slow and painful death?
First, what government is doing is we continue with the education service contracting. We have the senior high school voucher. The other decisions of families to migrate to the public sector because it's still prohibitive is something that should not also be blamed on DepEd kasi decision niya ng families. So we cannot, kung ako tatanungin kung pwede lang gawin yung Australian model that in the private sector full support ang government. Essentially yung cost is covered by the government. But that's not what our country what we're doing now is just the usual mechanism, and we're even exploring the idea of expanding the service contracting. Although sabi ko, we're still discussing this, hindi pa to totoo sa next school year, of doing it even in the elementary grades. So we continue to still provide the support. Pero alam ko, yung support kung minsan hindi naman sapat. Ay karamihan, it's economic. The migration is driven by economic realities. Ang daming families na nawalan ng trabaho. How would they continue being in the private sector kung ganun? So they would say, oh, but lilipat na lang muna kami sa DepEd. And so it's not killing the sector. I think very strong si Ma'am Liling sa support sa private schools, but some of the funding requirements is beyond what DepEd is capable of providing. So yun lang po ang ano ko. What we assure everyone is the original programs to make sure that there's complementarity between public and private provision of education services has been continued even during pandemic.
All right, thank you so much, Sir Arvin. Do we have some more questions there?
Yes, Sir Rico. Meron po tayong tanong, Yusek, from AJ. Good day po. Safety is our top priority, lalo po sa panahon po ngayon. Ask lang po about sa sports. May updates na po ba to yung quality practices sa activities, competitions? Maraming salamat po.
Actually, we could not do the face-to-face traditional sports, but I also would like to announce, kung hindi nyo pa alam, spread the word that the National Academy of Sports is going to get operationalized this coming 2021-2022. This is a special school for those that are gifted, talented in the bodily kinesthetic domains. They will be full scholars. They are going to be in a setup where they would be provided dormitories, etc. So parang mababubble sila. Pag napunta na sila doon, initially, they'll be in a bubble. So okay lang na mag-face-to-face sila doon yun ang pagkakaunawa ko ng scheme. But we are, implementing this. It has been enacted, legislated. So we have the National Academy of Sports relative to sports development. But all other competitions, we have to just do what the virtual platform could offer. So we still feel that there are some showcases of talents that could be done in a virtual way. So hindi natin completely inalis. Ako personally, I've long been saying, pwede bang bawasan yung mga extra and co-curricular activities that hamper us from actually paying attention to other actual teaching and learning activities in the schools. Of course, when I was a principal a long time ago, hindi pa pinapanganak si Rico, I made sure that these extracurricular activities are done after classes. So hindi ako pumapayag na walang pasok dahil mayroong mga co-curricular activities. And so ang point ko is, and sana kung hindi dumating si COVID, ma-realize na yung dream academic calendar ko na 9 weeks every quarter, turo. Walang hindi magtuturo for 9 weeks. On the 10th week, the first 2 days is exams. The last 3 days, kung anong lahat ng kaululan na gusto nyo gawin, mga contests, celebrations, etc. gawin nyo. So 10 weeks per quarter, the 10th week is the time for anything that you want to do. Kung anong showcases yan. Na-approve na yan sa Exicom. Yun yung actual na official calendar na ginawa namin bago dumating si COVID-19. Napa-approve ko na yan as early as December of 2019. Pero hindi na-implement because, yun na nga, we could not do face-to-face classes. I really feel, and if you ask me, ano bang sikreto para mag-improve ang quality? Gamitin ni teacher ang time na naka-schedule sa kanya para magturo. At gamitin ang bata na mag-attend ng classes sa panahon na dapat nag-a-attend siya. Bakit? Anong ginagawa ng mga curricular activities na ito? Sorry, this is something that is really very close to my heart. I'll be very supportive. Of course, Calabarzon is consistent champion in the press con. Ang point ko is, hindi pwede yung uso sa maraming school na pag may contest, si teacher hindi na nagtuturo, lahat na lang seat work. Kasi tinitrain niya yung contestant. Hindi ganyan ang pag-create ng winners. The training should be embedded in the classroom lessons. Kung may extra support, ano lang yan, after class. Hindi pwede. Tapos pag magpa-contest ka, pupunta yan doon. Isang bata ang dala-dala. Yung 30 na iwan sa school, walang teacher, pinagatian ng iba. Will that help you deliver quality education? Yung mga point ko, very simple, common sense. Pero mga ugali natin sa DepEd na ang tagal mabago. So I really had to say, that was, ako sana kung maliban yan sa bawat bata bumabasa, if a school can come to me and say, kami lahat sa school ang mga bata marunong magbasa at their level. Hindi naman kailangan marunong kang magbasa ng nobela kung grade 4 ka pa lang. Marunong kang magbasa ng assigned task for yung mga leveled readers natin. ang sinasabi ko, kung lahat ganyan lang ang bigyan mo ng atensyon, lalabas na lang yung magaling magsulat, magaling gumawa ng investigatory project at lahat. Maniwala kayo sa akin. That has been my experience. I headed a school myself, a small school of less than 300 learners. Pero pag lumalabas kami sa contest, takot yung mga national high school, kami barangay high school, because they knew our learners were ready to conquer the province. Ano, yung mga ganun. So wala namang sikreto, nagtuturo lang kami. Ang issue ko noon when I was a TIC, pag meeting namin sa faculty, nag-aaway si teacher, sabihin mo naman dyan sa teacher na yan, mag-dismiss on time. Kasi minsan, 5 minutes na nakatindig sa door yung susunod na teacher, nagtuturo pa si teacher at sabi niya, hindi ko pa natapos yung lesson. So, yun yung issue ko. And I'm very proud of my fellow teachers during the time when I became a TIC in the school where I was a teacher. Yun yung kultura namin. And we were doing very well sa NCEE and many others. Kahit yung press ko na yan doon sa school namin. Hindi rin ako English major, but we could create the better learners, and we could create passers in the UP, UPCAT. Tinuruan lang namin sa panahon na dapat sila nagtuturo. May mga mauso nun yung mga transport strike, ay lahat kami taga roon. So kami may pasok kahit nagsabi na yung buong province na hindi pwedeng magpapasok kasi may transport strike. Sabi namin, nandito lang naman kami. Nandito rin yung mga bata, so tuturuan namin sila. I mean, I did not require the teachers to come, pero on their own, they knew it was our solemn duty. I mean, sorry, ang dami kong mga issues na natatawa ko pag may mga nagsusumbong na kung ano-ano mga ano, but it's all about our commitment.
Salamat po, Yusek. Last question na po tayo from Ma'am Wesi Pisulte. Good day, sir. In terms of innovation of curriculum, how do you think DepEd plans to improve the curriculum, especially for kindergarten learners in the new normal?
Okay, maraming salamat sa tanong. As I suggested, yung detalyadong curriculum ay nakatuon kami sa K Stage 1. This refers to K to 3. So, yun, sa sinasabi ko na, will be focusing on the foundational skills, reading, numeracy, and the moral literacy and the values. So, ang ginagawa natin ngayon ay yung detalye na ng mga, tapos na kami ng mga big ideas identified. Ano yung mga dapat bigyang diin? In other words, these are as I've said, the most important concepts and competencies that the child should. And then we're making sure that while we will still have subjects, we want to make sure that there is also a so-called horizontal alignment of the competencies. Yung pinag-uusapan mo sa English will be very similar to what's being discussed in Araling Panlipunan, or kasi we want really a curriculum that will be very suitable for integration. Kasi the more we are able to integrate the things we do in terms of the design of the curriculum, the pedagogy, and the assessment, the more meaningful the learning is. And the more meaningful the learning is, the better the youngsters are able to understand the concept. So yun yung ano ko, yung parang theory governing the initiative. So expect for a K-3 curriculum, not only kindergarten, but the K-3 curriculum that will be very lean but focused. So hindi yung ang daming ipapaturo, pero yung ituturo, gagamitin nila pagdating sa grade 4, grade 5, grade 6 at lahat. Yung ang primary consideration is endurance. We will only identify the enduring competencies. And when we talk about enduring competencies, these are the competencies that will be useful to the life of the children beyond the grade. Hindi lang, gagamitin ko to kasi mag-quiz, dapat 100 ako. It's about, kailangan ko to kasi pag ako'y nagtrabaho na, kailangan marunong ako nito. O pag sa grade 4, kailangan ko na siya.
Alright, maraming salamat po Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio, and you really inspired us to the full extent. And of course, we would like to
Mario Pasyon, nandyan may comment kasi. So good morning din po. Mario lang yata ang mga pinagpapala sa LSPU. Sorry. Sorry sa mga hindi Mario, sa mga among the officers.
All right. And thank you so much to our very active participants for your participation, of course. So I guess this ends our open forum and ibinabalik na po natin ang mikropono sa ating pong moderator, Ma'am Afwang.
Thank you very much po to our beloved QSEC Diosdado San Antonio, your generosity in providing us information and advices. Thank you as well to our two facilitators, Sir Sarmiento and Sir Herrero. It is my pleasure at this moment to call on once again our very hardworking and intelligent University President, Dr. Mario R. Briones, for his message.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Clear po ako? Clear, ma'am?
Very clear po, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Again, to our guest speaker for today's webinar, the Honorable DepEd the Director of Cruz Campus, the Dean of the College of Passion, consultant, organizers, participants, faculty members, guests, friends, good morning. In early 2020, at the onset of the global coronavirus pandemic, schooling was suspended to prioritize the health and safety to redesign our learning delivery models to adjust to the demand of the times, from holding face-to-face classes in exciting distance have become the this opportunity and use it to upturn and global health crisis into a chance to reflect and improve the current curricular system across all levels of education. Under the pandemic situation, it has become a curriculum that, under an effective instruction theory, could arouse student students to cultivate fairness, desire, and always be a part of that education by exposing our students to various activities like this. We give them a chance to partake in improving university services as a whole by making them a part of our endeavors. More importantly, soliciting their advice and opinion, which we could use to better improve our capability as an institution delivering quality higher education. Congratulations to the organizers for rising up to the challenge of ensuring uninterrupted landscapes of education as a whole. Mabuhay po tayong lahat, and may we all have a good day. God bless LSPU. God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much po, Honorable President Dr. Mario R. Briones, for your message and for the awarding of certificate. Let's have once more our university president with our former university vice president, Dr. Mario C. Pasion.
Okay, thank you very much. To read the citation. This certificate of recognition is awarded to Yusek Dislado M. San Antonio for sharing his knowledge and expertise as a resource speaker with the team Curriculum Innovation for the New Normal Education Amidst the Pandemic, organized by the College of Teachers Education, GISAR, Doctor of Education, Education Management class, given this 24th day of July in the year of our Lord 2021 at Laguna State Polytechnic University, Santa Cruz Campus, Santa Cruz, Laguna. Signed, Mario R. Briones, University President. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much po sa time.
Thank you, President Mario, and thank you, Professor Mario. And thank you sa lahat ng mga nagsipagdalo. Maraming salamat. Bye-bye po.
Salamat po ng marami, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much po. Okay po.
Okay, at this point, I believe that all of you have learned so much from our guest speaker since it's a very fruitful discussion. We hope that the purpose of this webinar has been achieved, and to give us the closing remarks, it is my pleasure to call on our very vibrant Associate Professor, Dr. Zenaida Obicasa. Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have here Ma'am Zenaida Obicasa for the closing remarks.
Naka-mute pala ako. Oh.
Ma'am Bicasa.
Okay. Naka-mute pala ako. Sorry. Okay, let me have my closing remarks. Good morning, everyone. Today's webinar with the theme Curriculum Innovation for the New Normal Amidst the Pandemic is a timely activity whose main objective is to generally assist educators and practitioners in innovating the curriculum in these trying times. This marks another milestone for LSPU for having with us a prominent person known for his excellence in leadership and governance in the Department of Education. Truly an inspiring person. Thank you so much. Yusek Diosdado San Antonio for sharing your precious time in today's activity. Let me also express my appreciation to everyone for collaboratively working out to make this a reality. The ED students under the supervision of Dr. Passion and to the Dean of the College of Teacher Education, Dr. Florhaida Pamatmat, for this initiative. The sharing of time, effort, skills, and talents in organizing as to prove one's potentials in leadership is proven. It's led by Mrs. Julie Sarmiento. Thank you, Ma'am, for your diligence. This is but a manifestation of empowering students to work and join hands together to make us more productive despite the pandemic. Congratulations, everyone, for the job well done. To the participants, it is our deep appreciation for being with us today amidst your busy duties. We hope what you have learned through this webinar will help you a lot in your duties as educators to keep us moving despite of crisis. Last but not the least, Grad School of Santa Cruz Campus would like to extend its gratitude for the unwavering support of the President, Dr. Mario R. Briones, to sustain quality services in the university. Thank you so much, sir. Let us all be innovative with an open arms to embrace the change now that we are facing this world health crisis affecting our education system. Whatever it takes, always give back all to His glory. Again, good morning.
Thank you, Ma'am Bitasa, Dr. Bitasa. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our webinar. While we have plenty to reflect upon, I would like to remind everyone to please answer our evaluation link, which is posted in our screen and in our chat box for us to be able to get our certificate. So at this point in time, I would like to take the opportunity to thank each and every one of you for your participation and of course for the technical working group headed by Dr. Mario C. Pasion as our overall chairman, Dr. Senaida O. Vitasa as our assistant overall chairman, Dr. Florida V. Pamatmat, our consultant, Madam Julie C. Sarmiento, the chairperson of Planning Committee, Sir Arvin M. Sarmiento, the co-chairperson of Planning Committee, Sir Rico A. Herrero, the chairperson of Technical Committee, okay, Ma'am Lydia R. Lagaja, the chairperson Committee on Invitation, Ma'am Vanessa B. Villacarlos, the co-chairperson on Invitation, Ma'am Rodora B. Delfino, the chairperson Committee on Certificate, Ma'am Charlene S. Gonzalez, the co-chairperson Committee on Certificate, Ma'am Ronaline B. Arocena, the chairperson Committee on Program, Ma'am Antonia H. Camarista, the chairperson Committee on Documentation, and yours truly, your facilitator, Ma'am Maricar A. Akwang, ending this webinar with a quote borrowed from Benjamin Franklin: an investment in knowledge pays best interest. Once again, don't forget to answer our evaluation link, and thank you and keep safe everyone.